Wait a minute. You don't like crowds and loud places? Are you sure you're not just introverted?
If I had $1 for every time someone thought autism and introversion were basically the same, I'd be able to gift everyone here a set of noise-canceling headphones, or a lifetime supply of Neato cubes, or I'd at least be able to install that Shark Tank in my office. Wonder how much that Shark Tank would cost. The truth is, there's way more to autism than being introverted. So today, let's unpack the differences, address the question, are autistic people always introverted? What is introversion? Introverts recharge by being alone and having quiet time. But that's just the start. Let's break it down. Solo time is essential. For introverts, alone time isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Netflix marathons, cozy reading time under blankets, or just quietly listening to music in silence. Why? The external world is really noisy and overstimulating for a lot of introverts. Quiet doesn't mean shy or socially awkward. Introverts can love socializing, but need downtime afterward to recharge their mental batteries. It's like they have a battery that depletes faster than other people. But that doesn't mean they're shy or awkward. Although sometimes I do feel a little bit shy. They actually are often really good in social situations. Introverts are often great listeners and just take their time to think before talking. But that quietness doesn't mean there are necessarily communication issues or social challenges involved, or that there are difficulties with processing speed, like there might be with an autistic person. It can evolve. Personality traits aren't fixed, and most people have a mix of both introverted and extroverted traits, depending on the situation and context. Maybe they were fine in noisy parties at 20, but now prefer intimate dinners or solo hobbies by 40. That could just be life shifting gears. What is autism? Autism is a lifelong neurodevelopmental difference that impacts how people communicate, process the world, and interact socially. Here's the quick version. Early signs. These can include sensory sensitivities, repetitive behaviors, and differences in social interactions. From what I've seen as an educator, this also often includes getting upset or having outbursts or meltdowns with change or interruptions, or expressing frustration, sometimes loudly, at not getting to complete something before being forced to transition to something else. Not a phase. Autism isn't something you outgrow. It's known now that autistic children grow up to become autistic adults. We don't just grow out of autism. We do, however, often adapt to the world in our own ways. For many autistic people, especially late diagnosed or undiagnosed adults, we adapt by masking our autistic tendencies over time. But just because we can hide the struggles sometimes, that doesn't mean they don't exist. Sensory sensitivities. Sure, lots of people think of bright lights, loud noises, or scratchy fabrics being what we're talking about with sensory sensitivities. And those things are often an issue, but it's so much more than that. Close your eyes for a second and pay attention to every sense you notice. And this is without being able to see right now. Now imagine that perfume you smell, the light humming of the heater, the buzzing of the fridge, the background music from down the hall, the feel of the hard chair under your butt, the lingering leftover taste of the garlic bread you had a few hours ago for lunch in your mouth, the itchiness of that one spot on your back where the skin is dry. All of this is magnified 1000%. That's the reality for many autistics. Then add into the mix how no one else can understand or see this because they don't experience the world in the same way with that same intensity. They might not even realize that's possible. And it's not the same for every autistic person. We're all unique in our own experiences, but it's hard for other people to understand. Social differences. And then, with all those sensory experiences, now throw into the mix someone who wants to have a conversation with you. They're talking a mile a minute, but your brain moves at a totally different processing speed. You're asked a question, you're still thinking about it, but they're already asking another one, and another. But you can't even process the words they are saying while you're also trying to think of an answer. And also are simultaneously trying to ignore all those other sensations we just talked about. And then your facial expression looks off. Now the other person is looking at you funny, or are they? You're thinking about how they are looking at you while you're also trying to remember to look like you're listening. And wait, wasn't there a question you were supposed to answer? So no, this isn't just about being quiet and listening and thinking first, like it might be if you were introverted. It could be if you're also introverted. But because of all that goes into social norms in many cultures, now you just seem rude because you weren't listening. So it might be easier to just avoid most social interactions because they are complicated and take a lot of work, which we'll talk about more in a second. Similarities between autism and introversion. You can be both autistic and an introvert, but most introverts statistically won't be autistic, since many estimates are currently somewhere between 2 and 3% of the population being autistic. There's definitely overlap on the surface between autism and introversion, but the reasons behind similar behaviors often differ. Number 1, alone time. Introverts need it to recharge. Autistics might need it to escape sensory overload or recover from masking. Autistic people often also just have a more limited energy battery due to sleep challenges and the stress and energy required to socialize. That's because of being autistic, so they often might gravitate to being alone more often. 2, social overwhelm. Introverts feel drained by too much social interaction, also by crowds. Autistics face this too, but add in overwhelming sensory sensations and it can make many environments unbearable, including office spaces and cafes and other places that are not usually considered overwhelming for non-autistic people. 3, routines and predictability. Both groups can thrive on routines, but for autistics, it's often about managing anxiety or sensory inputs. It's about what the autistic brain craves, and that's generally repetition and predictability. It's also avoiding things like change and interruptions, which both often cause physical discomfort for autistic people. If you want to know more about the routines and repetition that autistic brains crave, we have a number of other videos about this that I'll drop in the description below. But the point is, the repetitive behaviors are commonly associated with autism, but not necessarily introversion. What do I mean by this? Well, an introvert might skip a party because they're tired and want time to be alone, while an autistic person might avoid it because of those reasons, plus the energy required to mask discomfort in social situations or to suppress stimming and other autistic behaviors. Plus, the loud music and chaotic environment can feel overwhelming. Autism and extroversion. Here's the twist. Not all autistics are introverted.
Say what? I thought all autistic people avoided conversations and liked quiet.
Nope, not the case. Extroverted autistics exist and often thrive on social interaction, and I'm one example of that. But they also face unique challenges, sensory struggles. Even non-autistic extroverts aren't immune to sensory overload. But when you're autistic, all the sensory issues like background noises, weird lighting, or strong smells can cut social time short. Even if you want to be around people, you can't. Not in those settings, at least. Masking autistic traits. Extroverted autistics often spend extra energy adapting to neurotypical social norms. This constant masking can be exhausting, even if they enjoy socializing. So putting brain power and energy into not stimming, for instance, is tiring. It drains more than just our social batteries. It might also lead to having a meltdown when they get home due to overwhelm and not being able to self-regulate when out. Masking is just hard, but it often feels necessary, even for extroverted autistic people. You don't want to be out around people, but also getting weird looks because people don't understand why you're rocking in place. Social challenges. Miscommunications and navigating neurotypical spaces can make social interactions complicated. Extroverted autistic people might crave connection but find the effort of getting it right draining, and then getting it wrong and trying to fix it, without really understanding why. Even if you're extroverted, it can just make you feel a little bit shy. So an extroverted autistic might love hosting a game night but need a sensory-friendly setup. Soft, soothing lighting, quiet, not too crunchy of snacks, and frequent breaks from chatting, just to let the brain relax for a few minutes. And after the event, days to recover. So this can be confusing to other people. You're extroverted but need lots of alone time? Yes, that's my autistic brain that needs routines, repetition, low sensory stimulation, and less fast-paced interactions that require quick processing time. But we can be both the life of the party and also the person hiding in the bathroom for chunks of time. And then under a weighted blanket in the dark for days after. Key differences. So here's a quick summary of the comparison between introversion and autism. 1. Neurotype versus personality. Autism is a neurological structure you're born with. Introversion is a personality descriptor that can shift over time. 2. Social preferences. Autistics may want to socialize, but struggle with communication, processing time, masking, and sensory challenges. Introverts usually prefer smaller doses of social interaction with fewer people. 3. Sensory overload. For introverts, loud music might be annoying, or other sensory preferences might be bothersome and ones to avoid. For autistics, Sensory overload is a full body experience that can also lead to avoidance and later shutdowns or meltdowns. Autism and introversion. Different, but sometimes overlapping. We have lots more on the autistic experience, starting with this one.
I'd like to introduce my new business associate for Auticate.
You people made her nervous. You scared off my business associate. What can I say? It's a tough crowd. It's a tough crowd, Nadine.